One of the big questions during pregnancy is whether you should drink coffee or not. Now, the older thoughts and mindset around this was to cut out all types of caffeine while you're pregnant and breastfeeding. But nowadays, you'll find a lot of midwives and OBs will say that if you keep your caffeine intake to 1 or 2 cups a day of tea or coffee, then that should be fine during pregnancy. Let's just break down caffeine a little bit and chat about the effects that it has. When is it dangerous? When is it not? So caffeine sneaks into a bunch of different things. Coffee and tea are the most obvious ones, but you can also find it in a lot of pop drinks, in chocolate, in even a herb called guarana, and even in some medications. Caffeine stimulates the heart, so it quickens your heart rate, it raises blood pressure, and it is also a diuretic, which means that it makes more water leave your body and poses a threat of dehydration if you're not replacing that water every time you drink a caffeinated drink. Now, there was a meta-analysis done in 1998 that looked at the effects of large quantities of coffee on a baby. And in this study, they were studying women who drank 5 to 10 cups of coffee a day, so probably more than your average person. But what they found in the study is that coffee intake at these high concentrations was linked to miscarriage, chromosomal and congenital birth defects, and even sudden infant death syndrome. So pretty scary stuff. They also found out that caffeine interferes with the amount of oxygen that your baby gets and therefore interferes with the growth of the baby. And it also depletes your vitamin Bs in your body and it inhibits iron utilization. So these are all things to consider when you're deciding if you want to drink coffee or not during your pregnancy. Remember that the study had very high intake of coffee. 5 to 10 cups is a lot. What I did for my pregnancy was first trimester, coffee was one of my aversions. So there was no way that I was wanting to drink coffee. But by the time I got to second and third trimester, I started to crave it again, which a lot of moms find. They'll be off it for a couple months and then they start craving it again. So I did drink coffee. I made sure that my cup was smaller than what I'd usually have. So I probably would do about half a cup to 1 cup every day or every second day. Which felt fine for the second trimester. But as I got closer to my third trimester, I actually started to notice that I almost had a lower tolerance for caffeine and I would feel more jittery if I had, for example, an espresso-based drink, so like a latte or a cappuccino. I would feel jittery and I noticed that my baby would move and kick a lot more in my tummy as well. And these were all signs to me that I should probably be lowering my caffeine intake during this time. Another thing that I noticed and that I've heard a lot of other women notice is that caffeine intake is actually linked to Braxton Hicks. So when I drank a cup of coffee, especially later on in my pregnancy, I would notice that Braxton Hicks would become more intense and more frequent. And that could be linked to your body dehydrating more because caffeine is a diuretic, or it could be because of your body going into more of a sympathetic response where it's causing these contractions to happen because of the raised blood pressure and quickening heart rate. So listen to your body. Keep in mind that there have been these negative side effects noted with caffeine and coffee, and make an educated decision. Do you need to cut it out completely, or do you need to lower your coffee intake? And really just make that decision for yourself. But also listening to your body. If you make a decision and notice those jittery feelings or an increase in Braxton Hicks, then it's probably just better to cut it out and to start enjoying some different drinks that don't have caffeine in.